week, we have our first guest in the waiting room. We're very excited to have Miss Lauren on. So let's go ahead. We're going to show her a little intro image, let you get to know her a little bit. This is also how you can contact her if you would like to get to know her. Let's bring on Miss Lauren Logan. Let's see, where is she? Oh, there she is.
Hi. I put down the shades in my studio, but the sun is too brilliant. So
that's okay. It's okay. You're
lighting up your face.
That's right. You're a ray of light anyway. You're a ray of sunshine anyway. So I think it's fitting. So Lauren, Michaela, Lauren.
So nice to meet you.
So Lauren, you come to us from Pennsylvania, correct?
New York.
Oh, okay. Yes. And yeah. So kind of the Northeast.
Yeah. And from the Northeast. So I'm in PA probably since April. But I live in New York City normally. But yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And so, and you've got a very interesting career. So you are a business coach, which is fascinating to me. And so one of the key aspects of that is relationship building, right? So the first thing that we were kind of talking about, kind of the first point, we're going to take people through the steps of relationship building and how to properly do it. So the first step is obviously you've got to meet people, right? You've got to get out there and meet people. So what? Got to actually go meet people. So what are the ways in general that you do that? And then right now, specifically with COVID going on, what are some of your tips?
Meeting people in general, I would, when I got into business coaching, the word networking just had such negative or kind of false connotations to me. You hear people, I'm going networking. And the first thing that comes to mind is that a real relationship, or am I just creating this back and forth so that I can use you and you can use me?
Right.
And in truth, my experience in these last 5 years with networking is that there's one network that I have joined that I've made several relationships that I know will be lifelong relationships, not unlike the kind that your dad has, and others that are far deeper than that transactional nature that one might think of as networking. I'd highly recommend that whether it's your BNI, your Chamber of Commerce, however you go out and find people to talk with, that you then schedule one-on-one time with them.
Yes. And that's so crucial. But real quick, I want to touch on something that you said in there, because I think that this is a really important aspect that people forget. Don't think of this as transactional, even though it can be. And even though we're going to be using those relationships to grow your business, you can't view the relationship as transactional and expect it to actually be successful. Yeah. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. It might work once. In other words, I might meet you and say, "Oh, Catherine, I have this great referral for you," and you'll say, "Oh, Lauren, I have a great referral for you," and off we go. But actually, no, it's not that. What you want is, I want you to be talking about how great Lauren is 3 years from now.
Yes.
That will only happen when we can get below the surface level. So the people you meet, you're going to want to be able to dig a little deeper and get an emotional response.
So we're going to touch on that. But real quick, I want to talk about, before we get into that with you, and I do want to talk about that. When people go out to these networking events and things, and it's easier to do, I think, on LinkedIn, you just kind of comment. You get to know. We're going to talk with Dan Irvin about that in just a little bit. But when you're going to in-person networking events, and folks, they are going on in most areas, not all. There are some areas that are so riddled with COVID that it's just not happening. So you may have to be kind of patient on that aspect. But if you can get to an in-person networking event, remember, you actually need to talk to people. Just showing up doesn't work. And I've noticed, and if you're experienced at a networking event, go out and say hi to the new people. Greet them. Don't just talk to your same old people. Bring those people into the fold. And if you're the new one at the events, make sure that you're actually finding people, and find the right people. Find the ones that everybody's going to talk to, and then go have a conversation with that person, and they will start making intros for you from there. Michaela, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I've been at networking events before in my own profession where I'm just like standing there like, oh my gosh, I don't know anybody. What do I do? And luckily, there are some people who, like you said, who had been there before and who know other people who came in and took me under their wing and was like, here, come with us, and introduced me to more people until I just sort of had my own little group. And then, like you said, you do it for other people because you never know when you meet other people, especially new people coming in the new meet, what they're going to bring, what they're going to contribute. And it could help you just as much. You never know.
Right.
You know, you said something that is really important. When that has happened for you, when someone has said, when they look over at you and they eyeball you and they say, oh, hi, are you new here? Come on in. Let's meet Barb and Susan. And when they do that for you, there is a natural instinct, and I would say follow it, to next time do that for somebody else.
Pay it forward. Absolutely. Because you know what it's like at that point. Then you have that natural empathy of, oh my God, and at that particular event, I was a little overdressed. I think it was like a dance event too. And so anyway, it was like a whole thing. But yeah, I digress. You're absolutely right. And it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. And remember that forming relationships is cyclical. Okay. There's always a give and take in every relationship. So make sure that, at first you're probably gonna need to take a little bit, right? Because you're gonna need people to intro you and have, kind of give you a little bit more information, get to know people. Mm-hmm. But then remember to cycle it back, invite others, be the one to reach out and say hi to the new person. That kind of thing is very important. Now let's talk about that emotional response. So you're at this event, you've met Jane Smith or John Doe or whoever it is that is very important. How do you get them to actually remember you, right? Because as people, we forget that we're like little goldfish, right? We see something and it runs away, it goes the other direction. What's your advice, Lauren, to get people to make that initial emotional connection to you?
There's the famous, I think it's the Maya Angelou, and I don't know it exactly. It's people won't remember what you said, what you did, your great career. They won't remember any of that. They'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the idea is that in that brief couple minutes of conversation, ask them a question that you really care about the answer to. What got you here? Or sometimes if you find out they tell you they're a nuclear physicist, how'd you get there? How'd you start? What people want to do the most in the world is talk about themselves.
I don't know anything about that.
No.
And so if you can just have that little connection, and if there's one thing in what they said to you that you can say, oh, my brother-in-law is, he's also kind of in that field. I mean, he liked rockets as a kid. And just something joyful to bring back to them. That's the seed that will allow you to follow up the next day and say, loved our conversation. Let's get together one time.
Right. Make them laugh too. That's another huge one. Make people laugh. Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Catherine.
No, go ahead. That's all right.
That's a very chemical based too. Like if we can even get scientific about that and say there's a lot that goes on in the brain that people want that. It's almost addicting. In fact, it can be very addicting because we want more, right? It releases that dopamine. It releases the bond. Actually, we're really talking about bonding hormones too, like oxytocin. I won't get too far into it, but what I'm saying is there's a scientific basis to what Lauren's talking about. And it's really important because you're also making people feel important. And I think that's a very beautiful thing, as well as a scientific basis as well.
Yes. I love that. And remember, we were going into that room and we were nervous. We didn't know anyone. So every single other person, please remember when you go into that networking room, everyone else feels the same set of nerves that you do. No one likes me. I'm overdressed. Everyone's looking at me. Yeah, exactly. Something is terribly wrong with me and everyone's noticing. So
I think too. So, and as an introverted person, I have to psych myself up to go talk to a bunch of people, and you have to be on the whole time. Like you can't like step away and be off. So you have to be on for hours at a time when you do these kinds of things. It is, it's draining. It's exhausting. And so I have to, and even doing this show, I have to psych myself up for it, right? I have to like, okay, gotta be on, gotta do this. And I think for me, at least, and everybody needs to find their own kind of cue. You need to think, what is the thing that is making me the most nervous, or what is the thing that gives me the most anxiety about going into this? And then work with yourself to understand why that's not really a problem. And for some people, for me, it's just, I always have 5 million other things going on. So I have to remind myself, no, those things can wait. Those things are okay without me. Life will continue without Catherine for a couple of hours. I'm sure of it. And then, and then what I benefit from the show, which is I like to talk to my guests. I like to take some time to help the job seekers and the other professionals out there. So that's what I get from it. But then the other thing too, for other people, one of the biggest ones is, oh, why would anybody want to know me? Or why would, that, or some kind of anxiety about that you're not important enough to be known. I walk into every meeting going, everybody should know me. I'm amazing. I am awesome. And you just have to remind yourself all the awesome reasons for people to know you. Like Michaela, if somebody wants somebody that's going to always support them and be there for them no matter what, that's Michaela's strength. Or if you want somebody that's going to, understand something that you're saying to them on a very deep level, that's one of Michaela's greatest gifts. For Lauren, she's a very engaging person. She's a person that wants to help. You can tell that right off the bat. There's value to be had there, and both of you have your expertise, right? For me, it's I can recruit, I can make intros, and actually I'm pretty confident I can do just about anything I stick my mind to. I've kind of proven that over the years. That's just something that's where I get my confidence. So going into a situation like that, a networking event, even a big meeting or an interview, just remind yourself why those people will have value knowing you, and then show that to them. When you meet them, go, hey, this is me and this is what I can do. And what's up with you? What's your deal? Tell me about you.
I love that. I love that. And I would just say, and if even that, Catherine, can't get that set of nerves away from you, just approach that room and say, oh my gosh, there are so many fascinating people here. Yes. I can't wait to meet them. Oh, let me find out something about this one and something about that one. If you can just push away those nerves, get the focus on other people, and you're going to really do well.
Now, what do you do?
Oh. I was gonna say, man, you're on a roll today with this with really like likening what you're talking about to like really scientific based stuff. For instance, anxiety and excitement actually originate from the same exact place. So what you're saying is really like when you have anxiety, turn it into excitement. And so you go into somewhere, just think about all the exciting things that are going to happen, and honestly, you'd be surprised how easy that can be to do. And there's still going to be anxiety, but they really do tend to be very, very similar as far as chemical reactions within our bodies go.
Yes. And now what happens when you go in there and the very first person you go to talk to is a potato and just has nothing to say, and just even their job is boring. And this has happened to me. This has legit happened to me. And I'm like, why are you even like, I don't understand this. Like, and why are you at a networking event when you don't want to talk and you don't want to interact? That's so bizarre. I understand being shy, but if somebody approaches you, say something,
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do, Michaela? Let's start with you, and then we'll ask Lauren. What do you do when you walk up and the first engagement is just fine? What else do you want me to call him? Not a potato.
Okay,
that wasn't
use it for confidence boost. I'm gonna send this one over to Lauren in just a second, but my immediate thought is use it as a confidence boost. So basically just sit there and as their potato be like, wow, I'm recognizing this person as a potato. That must mean I am not a potato. So
there you go.
Better than I thought I would be.
And I do want to point out too, everybody does have value. So even those people that you're having trouble like making any connection and just the sound of their voice makes you go cross-eyed, even those people have value. So stop laughing at me. So seriously. So still find their value. They have something going on that can contribute. So Lauren, what's your tip on that one?
It reminded me of a networking meeting I was at, and people were in twos or threes. And I go up to this group, and this twosome said, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I said, "I'm a consultant." She said, "Oh," and she turned around and walked the other way.
That's just rude. That's not even a potato.
That's just rude.
And so I was a little bit taken aback, and I need to tell our audience, these things will happen, and you will be a little bit taken aback. Don't take it personally. Yes. Fast forward 6 months. She's calling me. She's lost her job. Is there anything I can do to help her? So remember that even the person who turned their back on you that day, literally walking away, is someone that you might ultimately develop a relationship with.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I've had that happen time and again. So yeah, do not be discouraged. Also, somebody can be having an off day. Maybe take the time and try to kind of make them laugh or make them smile, and don't spend all your time. If somebody's just not feeling it that day, move on. Yeah. But take that time, make that effort, and okay, thank you. Have a great day. Just keep on going. You're not going to jive with everybody. I brought that up. Yeah, it's kind of funny, but I brought it up to make the point. You're not going to jive with everybody. Don't waste your time on that. Move on to the next one that is wanting to help, that is wanting to make a connection. So what do you do when, and I'm going to start with Lauren on this. So what do you do when the person is basically just trying to sell you the whole time? Like you meet somebody, let's say it's a cosmetic salesperson, and all they want to do is tell you about their new mascara or tell you about their lipstick or something like that. And they won't just have a conversation. What do you do with that at a networking event?
I would tend to, you talked about moving on. You need to, if you've got a room of 30 people, I don't know exactly the percentages, but there's a fair number of people who could ultimately be great connections for you. Yes. You need to, if someone is in a sales mode and they haven't listened, they're not able to listen and catch the emotional intelligence cues that you are giving them. You can be kind to them. You can listen for a little while and say, "Oh, I see Debbie over there. Let me talk with you again soon." It's all right, because they have already told you that they're not listening, that they're a little bit impervious to what's really going on.
Yes,
that can be such a frustrating experience too. And I love the fact that you use the phrase emotional intelligence, because that's so true. That's really what you're running into there, is someone who lacks emotional intelligence and just reading your cues to say, "Oh, I should probably ask about this person and what interests them."
Well, and also know your audience. Like I use that example because I recently had someone do that to me, and I'm like, "I don't wear makeup. Look at my face. Why are you wrong audience person?"
Well, you have friends to do, I'm sure, so you can tell them.
That's it. But realize too what's going to be interesting to somebody and what's not. That's why I brought that up. Understand, talking about yourself too much may not be interesting, and tie what you do into what they do. Find a way to make that connection and say, "Yeah, I know, like in your job, I'm sure you see this all the time. Yeah, we do this. That's why blah, 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 blah with this." Yeah. Tie it into them. Keep them interested, because you do need to tell them about you, but you need to make sure that they feel connected to that and that they're not just going like, when is this person going to shut up? Make sure that you're being engaging and lighting up. So the last thing I want to really ask you about, Lauren, and I met the most phenomenal human being lately that's good at this. And I can't think of her last name right now, but it's Sasha. If any of you guys want somebody to coach you on how to properly introduce yourself and an exciting way to present yourself and introduce yourself, and like at networking, you always get to stand up and give your little 30-second commercial. If you want some help with that, reach out to me. I have a fantastic connection for that. But you do need to kind of, at these events, you do have to kind of just say, "Hey, here's me. This is what I do." How do you do that and sound interesting and not look like an insane person at the same time? Because too much excitement is kind of like, whoa, calm it down a bit. How do you, Michaela, let's start with you real quick, and then we'll get Lauren's take on it.
Okay, I'm glad I think I know why you came to me first, because I have a tendency to do that. I just get really passionate sometimes about what I do. And so as far as like how to calm it down,
Mm-hmm.
again, read the room. Don't scare people. Always go. One thing that's been popping into my mind as we've been having this conversation is just try not to come across conceited. Like, notice what you're saying and try. And like you said, Catherine, try to find ways to fit the other person into what you're saying, and it'll automatically calm you down because you're not going to be as excited about the other person. Though sometimes I am that too, so I have to be careful.
Very enthusiastic. Michaela is like having a golden doodle at your house. She just is so excited about you. And that's why I came to her. It is wonderful energy, but it's like, but you do have to learn. No, it's not. You just have to learn to harness it. Yeah. So Lauren, what on the other side of that, how do you get your energy up if you're having trouble with getting it there?
I would say, again, focus on the other person. Yeah. What the best networking intros that I have heard are people who talk about how their clients have benefited.
Ooh.
Okay. You can focus on the benefits that people who work with you have received. It really helps people. And sometimes if you can even say, I had a client who is in your age range. She did this, and these are the goals she was able to help achieve in 6 months, but relate it very much to the person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you're in a group, if you're doing a group intro, that still works. Look at the group you're in. How does what you do help them very specifically? And I want to thank you, Lauren, so very much for coming on today.
Yeah,
it's been a true pleasure.
Nice to meet you, Lauren.
Fantastic. Yeah. Love
Thank you,
Taylor.
And everybody connect to Lauren. We're going to post her information as we say goodbye to her, so that you can connect there. We're also going to drop her LinkedIn. It's already in the comments. Please feel free to connect with her. Bye, Lauren.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.